If you're doing this full out and you're not hitting six figures, there's something wrong with your business.
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Elite Agent Secrets. Today we've got Scott Holliday with us. He has been in sales for 20 years. He was the VP of sales for LA Fitness. He's been in real estate now for 5 years. He's been a top performer at Remax in Edmonton. He's individually done over 50 plus transactions and he's getting into new home construction. He is also a big fan, big proponent of the Listings Lab, and I'm sure we're going to dive into that today. Today, we're going to be discussing things like lead generation, cold calling, marketing, branding, and essentially all the key underpinnings or foundations to what we like to call the modern agent. Scott, we know this is going to be fire. We've been pushing this off for a little while, back and forth over the next couple of weeks. So thanks for jumping on, and can't wait to dive into it with you.
You guys are welcome, man. Good to be here.
Well, fun fact, my wife just actually came home with a 7-day LA Fitness gym pass.
No way. Well, she's gonna be signing up after that 7 days, so you better get ready for that.
If the reps were trained by
If the
Scott.
reps were trained properly, she will be joining within 7 days.
I love it. Well,
What I like to do is obviously 20 years in sales is no joke. Obviously you're a bit of a beast there and you've stuck at it. I want you to take us back to why you got into real estate. That's where there's usually a transitioning point there. And I like to give people context because, you know, people are at different points of their journey. So I want to know, you know, you're obviously doing some big things now and you have really made a big transition towards what we now call the modern agent. And, you know, I want to go back to where it started because 5 years ago, I bet you weren't a modern agent.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, it's real estate. I never woke up and thought, I want to be a realtor. Like, I think a lot of things transitioned me into the position where I am today. It's almost crazy when I think back of some of the paths I've taken and the experiences I've had to be in a position where I am right now. A lot of people over the years always just encouraged me of, get your real estate license, just from who I was and how I kind of operated and things like that. So it was never like a glorified position of, oh, I want to be a realtor one day. I was just kind of like nurtured along, I think, from all the things that I did, in the past. And, my first year of real estate, I remember, it's so funny. I did 26 transactions my first year. I didn't have a fucking clue of the business. But what I did understand was, lead generation and getting in front of people. And for me, it was just more of a natural transition, I think, from the years of experience of doing certain things in sales. Not that I look at real estate is like a sales position, because I don't see it that way. Right. So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Funny.
I was going to say, it's interesting you say that because I think the sales side will have helped you a lot, because you will have had certain muscle memory, like about following up with leads, for example, which is a huge one. Call the fucking leads.
Yep.
that's exactly where I was going to go with this and ask the question of, like, did your prior sales experience have anything to do with your current success and what that looked like, right, in real estate?
Big time, of course, big time. And yeah, absolutely. Cold calling, cold leads. I could go back, 15 years, walking into companies. I used to work for, and it's funny that I'm doing what I'm doing now with the Listings Lab, by the way. 15 years ago, I remember walking into businesses and trying to sell ads. At the time, it was like more print, and everyone's saying, print it's a dinosaur. It's digital all the way. But that's the type of relationships that I would try and build. I'd walk into, a business and I would, sell that company, 20, 30, $40,000 of advertising space and things like that. So it's so funny how things have lined up to where I am. But yeah, to answer your question, the fundamentals for sure. I mean, LA Fitness, they've been around for 30 years. They're the mecca. They're giant across the US in terms of the fitness industry. They revolutionized the fitness industry.
Right.
Yeah, they're old school. Yeah, they're completely old school. Guerrilla marketing, of course.
Well, the thing is about that type of marketing is what people confuse. So I've got to kind of tread carefully here, because me and Pete definitely support. So we support what we call like the single source. Yeah. So we believe you can hit 7 figures with one source of leads, right? Yeah. And that could be whatever it's going to be. And we've got multiple case studies from people, ourselves doing it and people using our lead source, which is the same one you use. Then other people say using YouTube. Like we had Will on, he does 2.5 mil a year off organic YouTube. Huge. People off cold calling, huge. Like Jay Kinder back when it expired, he's done 4,000 homes, heavy on cold calling. Like all this stuff works. People get trapped into like, I want to do it all, or like old school methods. And I think now with social media in general, leverage is now huge. It's like now you don't need to be on the phone 24/7 because you can run ads and you can have stuff going out there, and that's kind of doing those calls for you. So when you got into real estate, what was your first year like? How were you getting leads? What were you doing? Walk us through the first year.
So let me be clear on cold calling, because I know it's one of the first things we're going to chat about here. I've seen it. I've seen how it does work, right? But the thing with cold calling is you have to remember there's a small percentage of people on this planet that are good at it and that can systemize it in a way where they can completely scale up. Yeah. How did I get 26 deals my first year in real estate? Cold calling, 100%. That's the first thing I did, because before I actually hit the ground running in real estate, I actually used to help agents on the ISA side, inside sales. So I was the guy that would just load their week up with appointments. So I understood that concept, and once I got familiar with that, and it's almost like you've heard of Craig Proctor system. It's it's very geared towards cold calling and things like that. So, I learned a lot of foundations from that. So, having that experience before I actually got my license made me think, hold on a second, I'm really good at this. So if I can create more business based on, the volume that I'm doing, I could be successful. So I went into the real estate field kind of blind in one avenue in terms of experience and stuff like that. But I also knew that I could generate what I could generate based on what I was capable of doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a pretty fucking phenomenal first year as well. I mean, 26 deals in your first year. So the thing is I think wittingly and unwittingly, you set yourself up for massive success with like the previous jobs you'd had. And it's like, you were like a perfect storm to crush in real estate.
You know what, Andrew? I had no fucking concept that was good. I didn't know. To me, it was like, why didn't I do 50? To me, it was just on, here's what I do. I call X amount of people, you build that rapport with them. I was never really good on scripts anyway, but, you build that rapport and then, that can generate my, so I had no benchmark. I had no idea. I didn't know I was doing well until like 8 months in the first year, my brokerage. I remember my manager was like, holy shit, you are killing it. I didn't understand that or know that, right? To me, I just, I thought I was falling short.
But that's good. That kind of gives you people an idea, listening as well, an idea on your mentality, which is like what you always tend to find with winners is their goals far outweigh, like they're arbitrarily high, but 100%. Then they aim like ridiculously high. So I'll give you a bit of a contextual story for me as well. Yeah. So so I used to work in Formula One, whether you know it or not, people listening, it's like IndyCar, but in Europe, right? And it's like the pinnacle of motorsport. Now, when I worked there, I decided that I was going to get fit. I was like, there's an on-site gym for free. And I was like, I literally had to walk past a free gym from the company with all the gear to my house. It was dead center between the door of my office and the door of my house was this free gym that I could go to. And it was only for us. Anyway, so I was like, well, how do you get fit? And I was like, well, you got to eat less and you just work out. And these were my two criteria.
Yeah.
Completely arbitrary. And I went, well, an average man should eat about 2,500 a day to kind of maintain. That's what I've heard. No research, by the way, but I'm like a 6 foot dude. So I was like 2,500. So if I want to lose weight, maybe like 15 to 1,800, and I'll train 6 days a week. Right. Now, looking back, you can't do that, but you can't eat less food and less calories and less protein and then train 6 days a week because you haven't got, you can't. Well, anyway, I didn't get told this. So anyway, 9 months later, I basically had a full six pack, was lifting 104. So I weighed 84 kilos and I was lifting 140 kilos and I was eating 1,800 calories a day. And then I was the day I lifted 140, I only did it twice. The day I did it, someone was like, dude, what's your like training regime? And I was like, oh, I just eat 1,500 calories a day because I want to lose weight. And I just train 6 days a week. And he was like, but how are you lifting so much weight? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I just come in and lift the weight. And he was like, what do you do? You do protein shakes? Do you do all this? And I was like, why would I do that? And he's like, well, your muscles need to repair. And I was like, what? No one told me. So anyway, in 9 months, I achieved what most people don't achieve in fucking 5 years because I just blindly went, I'm just going to get really fit in 9 months. And did no research and went into it super ignorant and blind. And then I got the outcome because I wasn't. This also comes into limiting beliefs, which we discussed quite a lot, which like I hadn't got these not self-imposed, but like imposed by others beliefs that like you have to do this regime, you have to do this workout to get this, and this result. The reality is you work more and you eat less and you can get what you want. But no one told me that you had to have all this other shit. And I never did. I still don't now. I still train the same way. My body's fine.
And look, well, you know what? Screw standards. Oh my, 100%. Yeah.
Well, this is what you're like. This is what so many top producers are like. They're like, I'm just going to go and do this. So Peter as well is a great example. He was, he came in and everyone's like, well, you can't do what you've done. And Peter's like, well, I've already done 2 million in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it was. He'd already done 2 million.
Yeah. And
people were like, you can't do that. And he's like, what do you mean? I've already done it. And they were like, oh, we were speaking to someone. They thought he'd done that in a year. And we were like, no, it took me my first 3 weeks in real estate from the day I got my license. I'd already closed 2 million in homes.
Wow.
And because he was just like, I'm just not going to believe.
Slow. I feel like that's been slow.
Online leads don't convert. He was like, they fucking convert.
He's like, yeah, and it's like as you have that mindset and you're moving along, then you'll have to adjust to what's realistic in terms of servicing and things like that. But you cross that fucking bridge when it comes.
100%.
And that's the issue that I'm running really into now. It's like I've done so well so quickly. Now it's like, how do I grow it? And then I'm like, oopsie, another oopsie. It's like, crap, fuck this one up.
He's
failing forward very fast.
It's almost too fast. Where like the last week, Andrew and I, we went back and forth about this. It's like I almost have to take a step back in order to take the 5 steps forward because I'm going so fast that I'm not keeping up, and then my team has trouble keeping up with me, which is actually hurting me big time. And it's because I am putting deals together that should have never been put together because of my own ignorance, where it's like, oh, what do you mean I can't do that? But I've already done it. Here's an executed contract. Can you actually get them through underwriting? And he's like, yes, but I need like 7 days. I'm like, well, then what are we waiting for? Like, why did I execute this contract? Like you told me they're good to go, right? No, he said they're potentially good to go. I said, all right, let's not get wrapped up in the technicalities. They're either a yes or they're no. Why am I wasting time here? Because I'm like, go. Like like last Monday, I wrote $1 million in deals. Quite frankly, they did fall apart. That's the shit nobody is willing to share and talk about. But now I know why they fell apart. So the next million that I got under this week, actually, I think 1.5 million or 1.8. I don't know.
Like, isn't that
one way or the other? Don't get me wrong. it is relevant, but it's not, because I'm focused on the action, not on the outcome. The
And that's
outcome is the product of my action.
And the action is so much more powerful. My first year of real estate, I didn't fucking pre-approve people. You want to go out? Let's go. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, but that's hindsight. Look, I'm starting up in a new city. Like, we literally just relocated. We're running a business back there in Alberta, and I feel like now, like over the last 5 years, I'm going to put it together in the first year here. Right. You learn so much and you tweak and, you evolve in certain areas. So, but I don't want to ever lose that drive of, I guess how you say, like, just ignorance in a degree, but like, yeah, man, it's just all mindset. It's all, everyone's got.
I'm in a market where I have no referrals, no friends, no family, brand new area.
Wow.
So like, for me, online lead generation is the only way to really go.
Yeah.
Right. Whether we're talking about paid or organic, like lead generation is a way of life, and closing deals, ABCs, always be closing, always be connecting, whichever, one you want to choose. It's just a habit. It's not even a routine. It's a habit. And it's a skill set that you acquire, nothing special. Like this morning, 7 a.m., I was out showing a house because I am booked for the rest of the day. I don't give a fuck. I'll wake up early.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
It's that thing though, right? Where it's like having the vulnerability to go, like, last week I got 1 million under contract, and by this Monday, all 3 had fallen apart. But in this week, to have got a new 1.5 million under contract. So if that other one hadn't fallen about, in 2 weeks, it's another 2.5 million that would be under contract. And people are like, well, you work out what 2.5% of that is. That's your GCI, and that's getting, what is that, more than the average realtor in the US makes in a year? I don't know, what's 2.5% of what, 2.5 million,
I don't know, but I'll do the math for you.
And it's like
1.5 million, right?
2.5 if you add the week before as well.
Yeah.
So 1.5 is 37.5.
Yeah.
2.5 is about 62.5. So about 62.5.
Exactly, more than the average real. And the reason I want to say this is, like, it's about just taking action and failing. I do like that quote, failing forward, because I actually think it epitomizes something very true, which is like, just take action. You're going to fuck up, and like own your fuck ups, and then you won't do it again. Because like that $1 million, say he's just lost potentially 20 grand that's now gone, but it's like, it's a big lesson. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to make those 3 mistakes, 3 individual mistakes, 3 mistakes racked up. And it's just, like, I love this topic. Like, we're super passionate about this because we genuinely feel like we're on the cutting edge of like a huge industry shift. Like the whole of real estate is shifting, and we've seen it. And the pandemic has been a big proponent of this, from what we can tell. And it's so exciting that it's like, I know everyone's going on about like crypto and all this other shit that's kind of out and new, and it's like, it's awesome. Real estate is like the best, most tried and true way to make money forever. It's legacy money is real estate. That's what it is. It's old.
It's crazy. You're talking about an industry that's really never changed for years and years, and we're seeing a lot of things changing now, as everything's changing in the world. Right. Yeah. We're in interesting times. Like, we are, if you break down the changes throughout the entire world, we're in an insane time to be alive. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. So I know we touched on cold calling, but I want to get into, your first topic, which is cold calling versus marketing, targeted marketing to an audience. Yeah. So let's unpack that, from your perspective.
Yeah. And again, just going back, I mean, one of the first go-tos that, I did do was cold calling. And it was because of, I had the belief, I had the skill in that. And, I had my systems down, and that's how I operated. So this is not to, really look at cold calling as a dinosaur, because it is a strong pillar in real estate that a lot of people use. However, there's a difference between cold calling and messaging to your ideal audience. I didn't really realize that for a long time. You know, and you have to break down cold calling. Like, look, just accept what it is. It's cold. You know that going into that call, it's cold. You have no control over who you're getting on the other side of that call. So you better be really fucking good at what you do with something that, you know, in an industry that is saturated, right? And you're right. It's a lot of the times it's the person that's controlling that, right? It's not that lead generation company or this or that. A lead is a lead. And so, you know, understanding, really taking a pivot there from doing that for years and then transitioning into a whole different concept when, you know, when I stumbled upon the listings lab with Jess Leneville and all of her sorcery, you know, it changed everything for me. It changed the concept of really understanding, putting down that phone, understanding who your ideal client is and messaging to them on the biggest platform on the planet, social media, is still hard for people. It's still a struggle. And that's not to say that you can't do both, but I'm just saying there is a complete change. There is a complete world of difference from cold calling versus, you know, messaging to your right audience. Look, some agents cannot stand cold calling and they're not good. They can't do it. They can't stomach it. Some agents will do it and they will take it to another level. They will hire third-party ISAs and, you know, train them, and they'll take it on a higher scale, right? So everyone's different. I made the decision of walking away from that, and I was no slouch in cold calling. You know,
26 skills.
no, not at all. Like I knew what I had to do. But when I really took that shift and, you know, understood that the power of social media and your presence and understanding who your ideal client is in a way where, like, I'm not trying to be the jack of all trades realtor. I'm trying to get very clear on who my audience is, and I'm messaging very specifically with them, or very, you know, just being real. It changed my entire game, man. It changed everything.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
sure.
First of all, how did you figure out your ideal audience? Because I know that's what our you know, listenership is thinking, is like, how do I know whether I want to work with first-time home buyers, people that are upgrading, downgrading, or how did you figure out who your ideal audience was? And then what kind of messaging, or how did you craft the messaging? Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we could probably do a full call on that area itself. But I mean, obviously the direction with the listings lab, this is what they dial in on. This is what, like, you're talking about market research, extensive market research to understand who your ideal audience is. I cannot stand working with investors. I hate it. Right?
Why? Is there like a specific reason?
I just, for me, it's like, it's almost like you're spinning your wheels a lot. And I'll be honest, real estate,
I can relate.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like real estate.
This is why I'm asking this, because I'm a newbie, right? So for anybody listening, whether you listen at this time, I consider myself a newbie. Probably for the first year, 2 or 3 years, I consider myself new. I don't care how many transactions I've done. There's always something I can learn.
Yeah.
I've been recently working with an investor, amazing guy, but every single property, there's something wrong with it. I'm like, the product you're asking me to find you simply does not exist. Right. So help me understand what I can actually do to either find you the right property, or you accept that you got to raise your price point or lower your expectations. And I'm not saying that to lower your expectations, lower your standards, but I'm saying is, like, as an investor, I just look at stuff a little bit differently, but this is also my first experience. So I'm a newbie. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, yeah, you know, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. You know, and honestly, Peter, like, look at who you are as a person. And, you know, I mean, some people, some realtors love investors. They'll kill it. They'll dial in on everything. They know all the stats. That's what they're really good. For me, there's no passion in that. There's no emotion in that. Right. I've got 3 daughters. I live in a big house. You know, I talk to people about this all the time, and understanding who my ideal client is, where they're kind of, we're kind of matching each other on a personal level. You have to do that to a degree. Yes, I also want an ideal client to be lucrative and in demand, but rather than chasing everyone, well, that's my strength. Put me in front of a family. I always say that I'll move mountains. Put me in front of an investor. They're probably going to irritate me.
The,
You know what I mean? So,
What-
so understanding your ideal client allows you to have a natural way, not fake, but have a natural way of messaging to them so specifically. Because think about how much psychology runs through real estate. It's
yeah,
not
it's totally true.
Holy
Like-
shit. Oh, there's a small percentage that's transactional. Everything else is all based on emotions and psychology.
Relationships, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the things, I mean, I even if people just kind of to tangibly understand, it's like if someone it's just kind of a stupid example, but it's like you can go and get a coffee from like one of them machines, you put your own granules in or whatever, you put your thing. I don't even drink coffee, so whatever, and you get that and it's like, I don't know, $1. Or you got a Starbucks and you get one that's like $7. But then imagine there was like that coffee stand and it was like the perfect coffee for contractors. And it might have been like $11, but it was like perfectly tailored just for them, exactly how they like it, served in exactly the time in the container so it didn't splash about and stuff. And it's like the understanding you can actually also subsequently charge more for. I know with real estate, obviously we're fixed with the percentages to a certain degree, at least on the buy side. But what people fail to understand is there's an old saying in business, which is the riches are in the niches, right? Which is actually really nailing down who you want to work with specifically will actually yield you outsized returns than if you don't. The problem what a lot of people have is they go, well, why the fuck would I do that when I could just target everyone in the US, right? I can just go after everyone in the US as a home buyer. So I service everybody. And it's like, no, you actually don't. You service nobody.
Exactly.
What you want to do, like Peter's team or Peter's his brand is the Boca Boss, right? Boca Boss. It's like one location is Boca. That's it. It's not outside. It's not here or there. It's literally just Boca.
Yeah.
All you get. I still will go out for those other deals, but my primary area of focus is here.
Yeah. And it's like focus on who you want, where they want, the income levels, the types of buyers or sellers you want to work with. If you want to be a buyer agent or just seller agent, it's like you got to figure out exactly what you want. Is like, in fact, I'll give just everyone another very brief example. This podcast, we designed exactly who it's for. This podcast is designed specifically for people who are around that 40K mark. So they're making some transactions, they know kind of how the cogs work to get them up to multi six figures. Yeah. So it's like, how do you get from say 50 to like 250 grand? Like this could do way more than 250. I mean, some of the strategies here are like insane. They can get you to multi 7 figures. But it's like the goal for us is to take you, our internal goal at Elite Agent Secrets and our Maverick team is every agent should be a minimum of a 6-figure agent. I don't believe anybody in this world got into real estate wanting to make less than 6 figures ever. Right. So like that is our goal. Everybody that listens, we want everyone to make 6 figures a year. That's our goal.
It's so achievable though. I feel like if you're doing this full out and you're not hitting 6 figures, there's something wrong with your business. So fix it, change it.
Which is exactly why we interview awesome people like you. This is the point.
Maybe you don't even treat it as a business, right?
And going back to exactly. And going back to cold calling, like, look, cold calling and messaging to your ideal client, they both have the same fucking agenda. It's getting in front of people.
Right.
If I can get in front of people on a higher platform that are my audience, that resonate with me, where I'm being real, I'm being myself. Do you know how much business I get from non-real estate related content? I get so much business from stories or personal stuff, or even posting Instagram stories, Facebook stories that have nothing to do with real estate. It's because I've already set the tone. I'm messaging the right way to my audience. They're going to keep coming back. I'm relocating, man. Like over the last couple of months, I have laid low on social media because, I've been busy. I've been relocating to different cities. I have so many people messaging me, hey, where's the content? What's going on with you? You're very quiet. To me, that's a compliment.
It is. And it's so true, right? This is that niching down to like, hey, I want to speak to this person. And when that content comes out, the reason it is people want to do business with people that they think are similar to them, that resonate with them, that share common interests, common ground. And like, you'll be stunned. I mean, you're not, because you are literally the living proof of making all the money from it now and growing a new team, a new business in it. I'm sure we're going to touch on where your goals are for this towards the end. But it's like, this stuff it really, really works. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides, and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.